This is episode 87, Freedom and the Walls That Surround Us. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. Freedom. I want to chat with y'all this morning about that word. More than a word, you just say that. It has an energy to it. I want to talk about freedom, but maybe not in the way that you would typically expect. So first and foremost, when I say that word, what meaning comes to your mind? Literal question right now. What does freedom mean to you? Say the word in your head. Say the word out loud. What meaning is the first thing that comes to you when you say that? Morning. And you know it's not a rhetorical question. I mean, give me some feedback in the comments below. And as you're thinking about it, and as you're typing, and as you're sharing with all of us, your first response, your first feeling, I'm willing to bet many people, when they first think of the word freedom, they probably relate it to kind of an absence of constraint, right? We think about freedom as we don't have walls around us, right? We're not confined or constrained. We are physically free to get out and go for a run, get outside, move our body. And that is a privilege most of us should feel blessed to have, that we have that physical freedom. Maybe when you say the word freedom, it wasn't about being physically free. Maybe it was freedom of choice, right, that came to your mind when you first said the word freedom. The freedom to choose what we do, choose where we go. How many decisions do you think we are free to make every single day on our own accord? True freedom. And again, something we should be grateful for, as there's people around the world that don't have either of those kinds of freedoms to the extent that many of us do. Maybe when you said freedom, first thing that came to your mind, entrepreneurs out there, I know this seed is probably in your consciousness, financial freedom, right? Freedom financially to maybe do the things that we want to do for ourselves, our family, our loved ones. I'm curious, were any of those the first things that come to mind when you say or thought about freedom? Any others, throw them in the comments below. But you see, the conversation I want to have with all of you today is not about any of those types of freedoms, although I want to acknowledge the importance of each of them and the meaning of each of them, and that many of us should feel truly grateful that we have more of each of those than a lot of people on this planet every single day. But I want to talk about what I believe maybe is even a more important freedom. And maybe a freedom you've never thought about as frequently as the ones I just mentioned. But it's probably a freedom that affects us positively or negatively even more every single day than all of them combined. An emotional freedom. An emotional freedom. of freedom as it relates to our own belief system, our own focus, of freedom that exists in between our own two ears, our inner dialogue, our inner conversation. And probably, if we're to be honest with one another, a freedom that a lot of people, maybe even yourself from time to time, don't fully have. Emotional freedom. And some thoughts, 3 thoughts specifically, around some beliefs or principles we can take as our own to help increase our inner feeling of freedom every single day. Emotional freedom. And the reality is that there's so many of us out there that have freedom by the typical definitions. We have freedom of our physical proximity, where to go, what we do. We have freedom of choice, right? What we decide, the options that we choose to take. Many of us have a level or a degree of financial freedom. We have our basic needs covered. We can do things, right, that we want to do for our own enjoyment and pleasure for those around us. And while we can always progress and get better maybe in all of those areas, I think more so now than ever, people don't realize that we're giving away the most important freedom of all, and that's our emotional freedom. Where our energy goes, where our attention goes. If I were to pick a poll right now and there was some sort of barometer, some sort of biometric device that we could put on all of us that would measure where our attention is internally throughout the day, like somehow we could plot where our inner conversation is focused on. And beyond just plotting what it's focused on, somehow it could measure the energy or the emotion that is monopolizing us during that time. And we were to print out your report for the last 24 hours, the last 7 days, the last 30 days. Where would your report say your attention and your focus was on? And even more so if it were to categorize that into emotions. What would it tell us? See, you know the answer to that. Nobody else knows the answer to that, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. We all live externally. We all have the things we do and the things we say, the actions that we take, and people's perceptions based on what we're able to do in the public sphere. But nobody really knows what's going on in between the ears in somebody's life and somebody's emotional state all day, every day, all week, every week, all month, every month. Often until maybe it gets to an extreme and you start to see signs or symptoms that something needs to change. But what happens if it doesn't get to that extreme, yet it's something that's affecting, right, our energy, our emotional well-being, our mindset, and, ultimately the enjoyment and fulfillment and happiness that we have every single day? Because at the end of the day, our emotional freedom is what dictates all of that. You guys, there's 3 different beliefs or 3 different principles I want to share with you. And it's just kind of a collection of thoughts that I've gathered from various conversations, both people that I've mentored and coached in the entrepreneurial world, but also me as a perpetual student, always asking questions, right? Reaching out to thought leaders, conversations with amazing guests I've had recently on the podcast. And there's 3 different thoughts I want to share as beliefs or principles that if we choose to adopt as our own and actually apply every single day, will give us more emotional freedom in our lives. First thing that comes to mind, probably one of the things so many people fall into and give our freedom away. First principle, first thought, first thing to grab as our own. We need to, number 1, let go of things we cannot control. You guys, this is a huge one. I watch so many people close to me, right? people in physical proximity, right? People that I'm connected with, as I'm sure you will see as well in your own peer group, your own social circle. So many people spend so much of their time, their focus, their energy, their life focusing on trying to control things that are uncontrollable. How often do we let media or news outlets, right, or information coming in from our phone or our feed or the newscaster suck our emotional energy as we try to get frustrated or angry or anxious or fearful over things that are totally outside our control? How often do we try to control people around us? Maybe our significant others, maybe our friends. We try to get them to live in a way that we want them to live, realizing, right, or never realizing that you can't control, right, the way another person is or acts, no matter how much you try. You guys see, the first thing we have to do is we have to realize there are two categories, there are two buckets. We've talked about this in the past. Everything in life falls into one or the other. There are things we can control and things we can't control. Things we can control are things we really have an influence over, things that if we put a time and energy and effort into, we can actually have an effect on. And things we cannot control are the things that no matter what we do, no matter how much we stress, no matter how much we focus on, no matter how much inner conversation we have, no matter how much we want, no matter how much we wish, there's nothing we're going to do or say that is going to have an effect on the outcome. Yet so often we set so much of our time in that bucket of things we cannot control. You guys, for every bit of energy you put into something you can't control, you are giving away your emotional freedom. You are giving away your freedom. You are no longer free as you sit there and try to control the uncontrollable and get monopolized by the emotional or the feeling that is a response to that, to which there is no end. To offer a principle, guys, that's been with us for generations and generations, rooted in the Stoics. Focus on things you can control. Let go of things you can't control is one of the first principles you have to do if you want to truly have an emotional freedom every single day. You might say, well, Blake, it's easier said than done. It is. But it doesn't mean raising our level of consciousness or awareness doesn't make us better. We got to learn to ask ourselves the question whenever we're in that situation, whenever we feel ourselves getting emotionally hijacked, giving away our emotional freedom because of a certain circumstance. We got to ask ourselves a really simple question. Is this something I can control or is this something I cannot control? And if it falls into something you can control, by all means, try to affect it, try to change it, try to influence it. I'm not saying sit back. You can make a world of difference. But if it falls into that second bucket of things you can't control, no matter how much you stress, no matter how much you do, then you got to step back and realize the emotional freedom you're giving up, the sacrifice you're making is in vain, is not worth it, is not going to make a difference. And therefore we learn to eventually build the muscle where we let go of things we cannot control, which allows time and energy to now go back into the bucket of things you can't control. Second principle to increase emotional freedom. Stop trying to make everyone happy. Stop trying to make everyone happy. Stop trying to please everybody. Guys, this is a tough one because of the way many of us have been brought up. It is almost an epidemic in itself. Are you someone out there that finds yourself gravitating to try to please everyone around you, try to make everyone happy, try to be liked by everyone? You find yourself sometimes adjusting your own actions or conversations, or sometimes even adjusting your own persona in order to try to be the person you think the other person thinks you should be. Guys, how much energy does it take to try to make the people around you happy? Think about it. If you just have a couple people in your life and all you're doing all the time is trying to make a couple people happy, that alone will suck the life out of you, let alone trying to make everybody you come in contact everywhere happy. You guys, I'm all for being kind. I'm all for helping others. I'm all for giving and sharing mentality, but you got to do so in a way that is true to yourself, not do so in a way that's constantly trying to react or respond to the way you believe other people believe you should be. By doing that, you give away your emotional freedom. You guys, and I know it's easier said than done, but again, we got to realize, direct question, do you really think you can make everybody happy? I don't care how old you are, how much experience you have out there, and what part of the world you're in. I'm sure all of us, if we ask ourselves the question through our own experience in life, we've realized that, you know what? Can you make everybody happy? We know the answer is no. How many of us have met people out there that no matter what you do, you know you can never make them happy? There are certain people out there, I know we all have one or two, right, inside our cell phone contacts, people in our life that we've realized no matter what you do, no matter how much you push, no matter how good it is, it's never going to be good enough for that person. You guys, there are some people out there that there is no end. And if you find yourself stuck in a situation where you're trying to please people that are literally unpleasable, you guys, that is a losing battle. One of my favorite books out there, Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Sounds like a morbid book, but it's a real inspirational book, a real perspective shifting book, where it says the number one regret of people in their final years is that I didn't live a life true to myself, but one others expected of me. You guys, and that's what we're talking about here, always trying to live a life that others expected of you instead of being true to yourself. By doing that, you literally give away your emotional freedom, your mental freedom, constantly sitting there trying to think, what will this other person think? What does this other person want me to do? Changing our beliefs, our behaviors, our actions in a perpetual guessing game that there is no end, there is no win. You guys, that's not emotional freedom. To have emotional freedom, you got to truly realize you can't please everyone. All we can do is the best that we can do. All we can do is be the best version of us, give all we can of us in a way with the right intention. Put in the work. I'm not saying let go. Put in the work with the right intention, but do so true to you, detached from the response or the outcome of another person. Guys, that's all you can do because that's within your control. What you do for you is within your control. How someone chooses to receive that is not within your control. We got to let go. Let go of the things that we cannot control. Stop trying to please everyone. And the last thing that I'll say, number 3, when it comes to an emotional freedom, is we got to learn to give without an expectation. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know, Blake, I give without expecting. No. We got to learn to truly give without any sort of expectation on what is coming back to us. You guys, how often every single day do we do something because of the value exchange of what we think we will get back for that effort? I'm not talking about just giving a physical gift. I'm talking about giving ourselves, giving our time, giving our energy, sharing an idea, sharing a thought, contributing in a way. Guys, we should be spending our life, most of our life, every day, doing things in a way that contribute to people greater than just ourselves. That's the entire point of why we're here, to make a difference outside of just our own physical body, whether that difference be in our household or our neighborhood or our community or our organization or our company, right? To contribute in some way, but to get to a point where you can really contribute in a way with no strings attached. Regardless of the effort you put in ever comes back directly or indirectly. Letting go of the expectation that you have on another because of the actions that you take. And again, guys, it comes down to checking in with our own intentions. Whenever we do something, are we doing so purely from the intention of caring? Am I really caring about the individual or individuals that my effort is going to right now? Is that the intention? Saying, okay, what can I give in this situation? And then letting go. Once you give, that's it. Move on. That is the end, regardless of what may or may not come back to you. And you guys, through my own experience, I'll tell you, there's plenty of things that you will give, right, that aren't going to directly come back. Doesn't matter. Continue to give. Continue to care. But what I will tell you from my own experience, you tell me if this is true in your world. If you constantly put out, contribute, give, share without the expectation, even if sometimes the result doesn't come back directly from the person or the thing or the project, right, or the initiative, it always comes back indirectly. Even if it doesn't come back in the moment or in the time we want, it always comes back with enough time. Guys, what we put out will always come back, just not necessarily directly or in the moment that we want. Often it comes back indirectly in the moment, right, that we need. But we got to learn to give without expectation, because if we have the expectation, we're back to now losing our freedom. We're back to expecting, right? We're now judging. We're now expecting, just as guilty as, right, those that, we're trying to please that can't be pleased. So guys, those are 3 principles. Again, easier said than done, but the purpose of this conversation is to elevate awareness, to elevate consciousness, to start to think about things as we approach, right, simple actions in our day-to-day life. And these are easy questions to ask ourselves, right? Is this something I can or cannot control? Act accordingly, right? Am I doing this purely to try to please others? Or am I being true to myself, putting myself out there regardless of the outcome of somebody else's perception? And am I truly giving, contributing, sharing in a way that doesn't have any strings attached, regardless of what it comes back or not, purely because the intention of caring? You guys, those 3 principles, I promise you, are going to help with the greatest freedom of all. And don't get me wrong, physical freedom is important. Freedom of choice is important. Having enough, money to have options. Guys, all of that is important. But I believe more important than every single one of those is the freedom of our own energy, the freedom of our own emotion, because you can have all 3. You can have freedom to go where you want, freedom to decide what you want, even the money to do the things that you want. You can still be caged, be imprisoned, be confined, without any walls around you that anybody can see, because you haven't mastered the principles of an emotional freedom, which is why I believe this freedom is the most important at all. So guys, there's some thoughts this morning, 3 principles. I know it's easier to say than do. It's always a journey. None of us is perfect. But again, bringing them top of mind allows us to bring the awareness, shift our intention, ask ourselves those questions, and get a little bit better every single day as we move toward those 3 different beliefs and implementing them in our own life. Give you one last view for the top. Beautiful day. Hope everything is great in your world. I hope you are safe. I hope you are healthy. I hope you're excited about what's going on right now. And I think, guys, these principles are more important than ever. If there's anything the last year has done, the pandemic period we've all been in, is it has interrupted, disrupted, shattered, right, many of our routines, shattered many of our patterns and our belief systems, which in itself is a great opportunity as the pieces are all scattered around to put them back in a way that we want better than ever before, which is why I think these conversations are so important. So check in with yourself, right? Grab the 3 principles as your own. And as we appreciate and show gratitude for the freedoms that we do have, let's make sure that we're not neglecting the most important freedom of all, and that's the freedom that we have with ourselves and our own energy and emotion every single day. Until the next time we walk together, everybody, hope you have an amazing week, a freeing week, as we work to expand our own personal freedom with ourselves every single day. Take care, everybody.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.